All right, so I'm recording now, and what I wanted to work on next was a problem that is going to be similar to the exam problem. Right? And so I am flipping to the end of chapter 22. Let me go ahead and share. All right, I'm sharing already. All right. Can you guys see the Word document?
Yeah.
And so I'm on page 1104, and we are going to be working exercise 22-6. All right. So I think you had a homework problem. I think it was, you guys did 22-5. All right. So 22-6, if you've had any time to look at chapter 22, again, there's a video lecture already posted. So please take advantage of that, because I did check. I can't remember if it was this class, but I've noted that there weren't very many people that had viewed those videos. So yeah, maybe you understand the chapter, and that's completely fine. People learn in different ways, right? But I want to make you aware that it's out there. Right? And so in this problem, it says Sonic Incorporated manufactures two models of speakers. There's the Rumble and the Thunder. Based on the following production and sales data for June, prepare, first of all, a sales budget and then a production budget. And so on the exam, just like this, you're going to have a company and that has two products and two different divisions. And you're going to need to be able to calculate the sales budget first, because if you've read or watched the videos, the order of budgets is very important. You have to do the sales budget before you can do the production budget. You have to do the production budget before you can do the direct materials purchase budget, before you can do the direct labor budget, before you can do the factory overhead budget. You have to do all of those three before you can do the cost of goods sold budget. All right. And so you have to do all that stuff just to get the first two lines of the budgeted income statement. Because from the sales budget, we're going to get sales. And then we had to do all those other budgets in order to get the cost of goods sold budget. Then after that, you can do the selling and administrative budget, all right? And then you can create a budgeted income statement. Right? So you're not going to have to do all that, but you need to understand the flow of the budgets, because that is a multiple choice question. And so, excuse me, it says Sonic, I read that already. It gave us the information, estimated inventory, desired ending inventory, expected sales volumes, all right, and unit selling price. And so hopefully, you understood the relationships between selling price, variable costs, and fixed costs from last chapter, all right? In dealing with that, I think we actually worked a problem where, we did a break-even analysis, and then we were like, oh, what if we changed one of those components? And so by changing one of the components, right, let's just say variable cost. If we increase the variable cost, the impact of that on break-even analysis is that we increase the break-even point. So whenever you increase a cost, you increase the breaking point. So fixed cost, if you increase that, you would also increase the break-even point. Now, I wanted to I wanted to highlight something. All right, advertising for a business, do you think that would be a fixed cost, or do you think that would be a variable cost?
Variable.
A variable cost, all right? You would think, all right, because you'd think, hey, if we did more advertising, we would sell more units. But that's not guaranteed, right? You can actually advertise and sell less units. It's not directly tied to the units. And so advertising is actually a fixed cost. Does that make sense? I'll give you a great example. When I worked for Coopers and Lyran, which is an accounting firm, right? The first year that I worked for them, they decided to advertise during the Super Bowl, right? And so, I was kind of, excited, because, Super Bowl, the ads for those are usually funny or, poignant. The ad that my company, because it's an accounting firm, you're really not going to, make light or make jokes about accounting, unfortunately. And it was the worst commercial ever. I mean, I'm like, what they spent, $30 million on this thing? This thing's terrible. And I don't think that it really increased the sales that Coopers and Lyran had. It basically was some dude in a suit standing in front of a bookshelf and just talking about how important it is to have your books audited. I was almost embarrassed, to say I worked for them. So that would be an example where advertising really didn't pay off. The place that accounting firms should be advertising, and this is actually where they do advertise, are in the Wall Street Journal and in business magazines and things like that. It's not during the Super Bowl. It's like, oh, go get your chips when Coopers and Lyran comes on, but whatever. All right, and so back to the problem. All right, and I think there's a problem on the exam, a break-even problem that uses advertising as their change, right? And so they're trying to decide, should we do this advertising campaign or not, right? And so I just wanted you guys to be confident or know for a fact that advertising is actually a fixed cost when it comes to break-even analysis. All right, and so per our class, or per our chapter, I should say, the first budget that you want to do is you want to do the sales budget. All right, and so I want you to know that there is no, well, I guess there is on the exam now. All right, but if you were taking this exam when paper copy, I did not mark you down wrong for how you structured the sales budget or the production budget. They can be presented in any way, right? So if you remember the whole difference between managerial and financial accounting, managerial, it just needs to meet the manager's needs, right? So you could have put it together in any particular way. The problem with the online is that no, you're required to format it in a specific way, all right? And so whenever we are reporting or communicating, the first thing we need to have is a title, right? And so this is Sonic, okay, Incorporated. This is going to be a sales budget. And this is for the month of June. So again, we're looking ahead, all right? And the first place that you want to start with any budget is you want to start with the revenues, okay? Whether this is personal or business budget, you always want to start with your earnings, right? Because you can't spend what you don't have, right? And so, we would go to our sales force and we'd ask them, hey, what do you expect to sell this period, all right? And we'd run through the whole scenario. Is that too low? Okay, where there's budgetary slack. Is it too high? Because we don't want to discourage our sales force, right? And so, based on those numbers, all right, they give us the information that was provided for you. All right, and so the way that it is set up both in this chapter and on the exam, you want to break these things by product, all right? And so, because again, we have two products and we have two different divisions. And so we want to look at this, all right? And we're going to do Rumble, all right? And then we're going to do Thunder. Okay. And there are three very important numbers, right, when it comes to the sales budget. Obviously, all the numbers are going to be important to you guys because that's how you're going to get the maximum points for this problem, right? But for Rumble, what we're going to do is we're going to, identify the units that Sonic is going to sell of the Rumble. And so below, you can see that they have West divisions, okay? And so the East division, okay, expects to sell 12,000 units. Okay. The West division anticipates selling 14,000 units of Rumble. And so they expect total sales of Rumble to be 26,000 units. All we need to do then, all right, is multiply that times the selling price. And so in this case, it's the same selling price, $160. Just so you know, and it will be like this problem on the exam. So they're not going to change those selling prices, right? So it is completely legal, and it does happen that we sell things to the East Coast for a higher rate or a lower rate than the West Coast. So you can have different selling prices based on regions, okay? But just know that during the exam, it's going to be just one price, as it is in this example. And so all we have to do then is we need to multiply these across. All right, so 12,000 times 160, okay, that comes out to be total sales of 1,920,000. And then we're going to do the same thing for the West Division, 1400 times 160. And that gives us 2,240. Okay. And so total sales, all right, for the Rumble is 0,006. 4,160,000. So we're going to do the same thing then for Thunder. All right, Thunder, all right, they expect in the East, right, they expect to sell 3,500. Okay. In the West, they expect to sell 4,000. Okay. And we're going to sell those for $200 each. And so we just have to extend those. Gives us 700,000. And what, 800,000? And that gives us 15. As so. And because this is a sales budget and we need to have total sales, we're going to add those together, right? And so what is that? 0, 0, 0, 0, 6, 6, 5. $5,660,000. And so this would be, the sales budget. Now, I said earlier that there are three super important numbers, okay, on this sales budget. And the reason that they're super important is we need them in order to finish other budgets, all right? the first and most important number here, and yes, you've guessed it, all right, is total sales. You know, we need this budget because, or we need this number because this is going to go off to the budgeted income statement. All right. You know, so we need this this number in order to go to the budgeted income statement. The other two super important numbers are the total units, right, that we're going to sell. The reason that those are important is because we're going to use those numbers to do the production budget. All right. So these other numbers are important. I mean, it's good to know, you know, what the East plans to sell, you know, as far as Rumble and Thunder, you know, so it's useful information. Okay, but really the important numbers, okay, are the three that are highlighted. Why? Because they're going off to the subsequent budgets. And so the next budget, which is the production budget, again, we have to have a title. So Sonic Incorporated. Okay. This is our production budget. And this, again, is for the month June, that's an end. All right, for the month ended in June. Again, this is looking forward in a future month. Okay, and so with the production budget, again, as far as setting this up, right, we want to set it up the way you're going to see it on the exam. All right, we're going to put these in order of product. So we're going to have the Rumble, right, and we're going to have Thunder. Okay. And we start this production budget, all right, with anticipated sales, all right, or expected sales. And that's why these numbers up here were important. So for the Rumble, okay, we expected to sell 26,000 units. Okay. And for Thunder, we expected to sell 7,500. See, if we're anticipating on selling those, we got to make those, don't we? We got to produce those, right, in order to sell. However, what if our estimates are wrong? What if instead of selling 26,000 units, we actually sell 27,000 units? So we want to give ourselves a little bit of a cushion, right? And you know that cushion, you know, so we want to make sure that you know, if this number, this 26,000 units is wrong, that we have a little bit of cushion, because if you don't have product, right, for instance, you know, the grocery stores, okay, they don't have a lot of things on the shelves. You know, I've been looking, all right, for this specific thing that my wife, you know, it's she's on a special diet right now, so she can only eat she can't have just regular hamburgers. She has to have you know, like buffalo burgers or something like that. And so I've been looking for buffalo burgers from different places, and Trader Joe's is where I actually found them in the past, and they hadn't had them. All right, and so they missed out on those sales. Okay, so of course, if they could have anticipated the demand for, you know, all the grocery stores, if they could have anticipated the demand for the products, they could have done a better job in stocking. All right, that product. Right, because they're missed out on those sales. And so that's what we're going to do. So what we're going to do to these sales is we're going to add a cushion, all right? And that cushion is the desired ending inventory. Okay? And so they gave us that information. They said, hey, you know what? You know, in the past, and again, we'd use historical information to help us to project into the future. All right. We want to make sure that we have an extra 750 units, okay, on hand of Rumble, and 300. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm picking up the wrong number. All right. we want to have the desired ending inventory, which is June 30th. Oops. And so we want to make sure we have an extra 500 units for Rumble and 250 for Thunder. This really is our needs. These are our needs. I don't think the textbook uses that as a title, all right? But these are our production needs, all right? In order to meet the expected sales and to have a little cushion, all right, we need to produce 26,500 units during this month, or 7,750, right, in Thunder. But the deal is, we already have some on hand, all right? And that's really the beginning inventory. So, if we already have those units, we don't need to produce those units, do we? All right. And so what we're going to do is we're going to subtract, right, the beginning inventory that we already have on hand, right? And so that is the 750 that I picked up before. Okay. And the 300 for the Thunder. All right, so this comes out to be 7,450. And this comes out to be, what is it? 25,750. Better check my math. All right, yeah, that's right. And this is what we need to produce. Does that make sense? And so on the exam, all right, you're going to have a problem. So the exam is going to look the same. All right, it should have the same content. All right, so there will be 30 multiple choice questions and 3 problems. Does anybody have any questions from chapter 22 before we do the review for the exam?
My question is like, what kind of businesses use these budgets specifically?
Well, specifically, this would be a manufacturing business, all right, because we're producing something, i.e. the production budget. But know that all businesses, okay, if they're, worth their weight in, gold, I guess, all right, they got to put together budgets, all right, because budget, as the beginning of the chapter explains, this is the planning process. We're here and we want to be somewhere else, all right? We want to, make money in the coming year. And so we have to be able to plan for it, right? Now, things like, coronavirus definitely throw wrenches in the plan, but, if you didn't have a place to begin, you really, don't give direction to your organization as a whole. All right. And next chapter, right, chapter 23, it's going to take this budgeted stuff, okay, and we're going to use it, all right, to identify where we've gotten off, right? So, back to the whole budgeting process, they talk about plan, they talk about directing, and they talk about controlling, all right? The controlling portion is, identifying, hey, are you over or are you under budget? So, nonprofits. So I'm the treasurer for my church. Okay. And, the beginning, or I should say the end of last year, we came up with a budget, right, for our church, because, if we want to hire a new staff member, we got to make sure that we have the funds available, and we base that on the revenues that we expect to bring in. And so, a revenue budget or a sales budget is really the starting point for everything. Any other questions? Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing this. All right. Make sure I get you up so you're not just looking at the ceiling. All right. This around a bit. I'm going to stop recording.